Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Wednesday, the 27th of August, 2025. I'm Graham Hughes. You're watching Morning Brew on Politics Social. Hope you're doing all right this morning. It's a little bit over. Oh, it's quite sunny here in Durham. It's going to rain later, apparently. But, you know, right now, the sun is out. The sun is shining. And I've got a song in my heart. And that's probably something to do with Taylor Swift, who's getting engaged. Yay! Good news at last. Okay, so I'm going to just run down a few people in the chat and say hello. Run down the chat, I should say. I'm not going to run you down. I might do. Might talk too much. I want to say a big hello to Paula Thomas and Gallifrey and Wren, Martin Harrow, Sarah Davis there. We've also got Chris C. We also have Elle in the chat, Fat Spicer. We have got Diz in the chat, Lost Missionary. Who else? We've got Reagan Elite in the chat. Hello, my friend. Who I think is Reagan. Are you our oldest mod? I don't mean as in age. I mean just like have you been modding this channel the longest? I think it's like you and Lee Korn. I think. And we've got who else? We've got Saz. We've got Saz in the chat as well. We've also got David Smith. Got Vendetta 9000. We've got Nubadoc even. If I could learn to spell. If I could learn to read. One of the two. Anyway, top of the morning to everybody watching this. Big shout out to everyone in the chat. If you'd like to join our friends in the chat over here, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button and wait for 1 minute, and then you will be able to opine kind of freely. I'm going to say kind of freely because, you know, Anyway, listen, I didn't have time to do the thumbnail and the blurb and the bullshit this morning, do the titles and everything. Got a lot of things going on. I'm going away next week, so I like every second counts. It is just like it's like fucking Phil Daniels around here, doing a game show. So what I want to tell you now is I am going to be talking about the bollock-faced foghorn of ignorance. That is Nigel Farage, you know, the guy who was in that plane crash, and then we don't know what happened with the pilot. We knew that he wasn't allowed to work while there was an investigation, and we know he suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, and he doesn't seem to have been given any support by the multi-millionaire he was in the plane with, whose life he saved in that crash. And we know that that pilot took himself out a couple of years after the crash. We know that. We know those. They're what we know so far. You know, you can extrapolate the details of that from the basics, I think. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Farage, right? We're not going to be talking necessarily about what he said yesterday, although that will come up in the newspapers when we do our newspaper review. But what I want to talk about today is the media's obsession with Farage. Farage got 1.5 hours, 1.5 hours, 1 hour and 30 minutes of live BBC News coverage yesterday morning. 1.5 fucking hours. He gave a press conference with a level of coverage normally reserved for prime ministers or party leaders with dozens of MPs. All the papers have splashed his words across their pages this morning, as we'll see soon. And yet Reform UK only has 4 MPs. That's the same number as the Greens. It is less than the DUP. It's less than a lot less than the Lib Dems, who nobody knows anything they're doing because they don't get any coverage in the British press. And yeah, they're nowhere near the level of MPs of the Lib Dems, and nowhere near the national vote share of the Greens. And why does Nigel Farage get treated as if he's the main character of British politics? This is, to me, the Trumpification of British politics, of the nation. We are obsessing over one person who doesn't deserve to be obsessed over because what he says is a load of bullshit. He wants to do a deal with terrorists. He wants to do a deal with the very people who murdered British soldiers in Afghanistan. He wants to give them our money. He wants to take money off disadvantaged kids in inner city areas, right? He wants to take their money off them, and he wants to give it to the motherfucking Taliban. He wants to give it to the Taliban. That's what he wants to do. And the newspapers and the streaming services and the news channels all covered this like it was a proclamation from fucking God Almighty himself, herself, whatever, itself. So, almost no other politician in the country, including the Prime Minister, gets this treatment. Starmer makes statements, he makes speeches, and they do get covered by the BBC. But it won't necessarily be the front cover news of every single paper in the country the next day. It just won't be. It won't be everything they talk about on LBC that morning. Not necessarily. Not if he's just talking about, I don't know, raising educational standards or something boring, which is very likely for Starmer. I hear he can't make mental images. Can't make mental images. That's okay. It's a very strange affliction. It's got a name. I forgot what the name is. I could look it up. But he's got this affliction where his brain can't conjure up mental images, which that kind of blows my mind. I didn't even know that was a thing, but apparently it is. Apparently there's people who don't have an internal monologue. God, their brains must be quiet. No wonder they can do yoga. Anyway, moving on. Even Jeremy Corbyn at his peak, he was the leader of the opposition. He was enjoying polling ratings of 37, 38%. He was in charge of the second biggest party in the country. And his words were often filtered through hostile pundits rather than handed a free megaphone, which is what happens with Farage. All the newspapers have run the stories. We can now go through this, although kudos to the Daily Star for being the odd paper out and actually concentrating on the big news story of yesterday, which is Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are going to get married. That's the main news story. Hurrah! Hurrah! It's, hooray for them. Woo! Could have a woo. Woo! Maybe we should do a little woo animation for when we get good news. There's a Scottish newspaper that's running just good news all about immigrants all week, which is quite nice. So that's worth checking out. I'll give you a link to that soon. If someone reminds me. But yeah, he's on the front pages, just, endless repetition of his framing, and even critical coverage still amplifies his message. He's appeared on Question Time like 40 times, and because the BBC repeatedly booked him because he was good television, even though at the time he didn't have any politics, he didn't have any MPs, and he was an MEP. And it's interesting that as an MEP, he got asked to come on Question Time every other week, whereas there were no pro-European MEPs that were taken on Question Time. None of them. None of them got to make an appearance. If you were pro-EU and you were a member of the European Parliament, you weren't invited on Question Time. You were only invited on if you were a member of the European Parliament and you hated the EU, because Russia had told you to hate the EU. Now they've moved on to trans people, but it was the EU. If you remember that far back, the EU was a bad thing. Remember when the EU was terrible? It wouldn't let you have bendy bananas or straight bananas. No one could decide which one it was. That was the problem. Do you remember that? Do you remember those heady days when we went, they were trying to take away children's swings. They were trying to regulate the size of condoms, when they were trying to, I don't know, but Boris Johnson just made up shit in the Daily Telegraph, because it's just fucking rag. And, sold it to the British people. But yeah, you go. You contrast Farage's fawning coverage by the media with his rivals, with the Greens, the Lib Dems, even Labour. When Caroline Lucas was the leader of the Greens, she never got any primetime slots. Ed Davey couldn't buy a headline if he wanted to. Labour in opposition they never had these mad press conferences that went on for like fucking ages, and then were the front cover news for the next day and just covered so much in the news. I mean, it might have been covered like on the BBC, perhaps, when Starmer was talking about the future of Labour or something. But generally speaking, it never got this absolute tidal wave of press coverage, good and bad. And let's not forget, Farage is one of the old boys, isn't he? He's a fucking old boy. He's a part of the Private School Mafia. He's educated at Dulwich College, drinking in the same pubs, moving in the same circles as many of the grubby little journalists and editors who decide what counts as newsworthy in this country. And he is treated like one of the club. And he's also loud, and loud equals important in toddlers' brains. That's why we shout at toddlers. But this doesn't seem to have been something that a lot of people have grown out of. So they think that the person who speaks the loudest is saying the most important thing. And the media thrives on conflict and spectacle. Farage delivers punchy, outrageous sound bites that generate clicks and complaints. So the editors give him oxygen. And Farage is seen as relatable to Westminster journalists because he plays the man in the pub character, but he's not. He's a toff. He's a fucking, he's one of the gentry. He's one of the fucking landed gentry. He's a multimillionaire. He's got a Coots bank account. As famously, he's got a Coots bank account. And when he was told he couldn't have a Coots bank account, he whinged about it for a week, and then they gave him one. And they sacked the woman in charge of the company. How about that? How about that for helping British workers out? He got someone sacked because he threw a hissy fit because he couldn't have a posh person's bank account. And he wants to do a campaign. Do you remember? There was a few days where he's like, we're going to have to launch a national campaign for all the multimillionaires who can't get a Coots bank account. And then when he got one, he said, oh yeah, I'll forget that now. Viper Scott, thank you very much for the first super chat of the day. £5 super chat, thank you. In my opinion, Reform are now the establishment, and whereas mainstream media are now pushing them, in my view. So sad to see this. I have no words. Yeah. And Andrew says, can you imagine the newspaper stand in the local shops this morning? I can't go there for milk. Frog faces on every front page. There was first successful Starship flight last night, and Swift. Yeah. I mean, I don't like I don't like Elon Musk at all. I think he's a scumbag, and when his big beautiful day comes, I will celebrate, and I have no shame over that. But Starship did take off yesterday, didn't blow up for a change, and actually sort of landed back on the ocean. It's quite interesting. It was coming down. It's coming down. I can't do it with that because I can't turn it upside down. I'll do it with a pen. So it's coming down towards the earth, and then just at the end, it flipped and then did a vertical landing, like a rocket ship in this old sci-fi movie, or like Mr. Spoon landing on Button Moon, but it landed on the sea, so it instantly just fell over. And it was like, that's what it was meant to do, but I'm like, okay. It's just like, but yeah, there was a few seconds of jubilation as it touched down on the sea with its top up in the air. Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the second super chat of the day. That's very kind of you. More importantly, Labour comms have just been handed a load of open goals that they will miss so badly that the game will restart with a throw-in. Yes, I think that's a fantastic way of putting it, Paula. You're absolutely right. Like we'll get into it, but what he said yesterday, that there is a litany of bullshit, that just like, how is this even a thing? And this is what should be on the front pages of all the newspapers. Shouldn't be what Farage said yesterday, but the reaction to it of like, oh my God, you fucking crazy, which is something that the Mirror do. So we will come to that in a moment. Wheels Darren, thank you very much for the £20 super chat. I'm sick and tired of all the division and hatred being pumped out, and that people seem to be oblivious to where this will all lead. All I hear is moaning, but few willing to step up. We have all the responsibility to each other. Yes, Wheels Darren, I think you're absolutely right. If you were to venture onto the Daily Mail website, there is an article about me today, because I did an interview for the Guinness World Records, because it's the 70th anniversary today of the Guinness World Records. And I did an interview reflecting on my journey to every country in the world without flying, a record that I set back in 2013. I started in 2009, and a record that has not even come close to being beaten by anyone, because it's a pretty remarkable record. Anyway, the article's fine. There's a bunch of mistakes and typos in it, but whatever. It's the Mail. What do you expect? But what I found quite interesting this morning, what I might do a completely separate video on it at some point, is that every single comment was negative. Like every single one was like, no one said, oh, well done. Oh, the great British person doing great British things. No. Everyone's like, you bastard, you gobshite, how dare you go in? Oh, when I was 46, I was providing for my wife and children. And I'm like, yeah, if you read the article, it was, 15 years ago, but whatever. Whatever. Well done for you. Unfortunately, they don't give Guinness World Records for looking after your wife and children, because everyone does that. That's just what you do. It's not remarkable in any way. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that there wasn't a single positive comment on an article about the story about a guy who went to every country in the world without flying. Like, no one going, oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's inspired me. Oh, yeah. Not one. They were all bitter and twisted and mean. And they're like, oh, I don't like this. Take this man away from me. I think what really pissed them off is the fact that I brag about the fact that I wasn't like beaten up or robbed or attacked or, didn't get ill. Like, how did he not get ill? Because, mate, I've been traveling a lot before then. I've been to a lot of music festivals. I've eaten a lot of dodgy kebabs. My innards were fucking rock solid. Coping whatever I threw at it, which was mostly beer. Good old alcohol. Kills anything. Diane, been far more active in calling out the lies of late, but noted the levels of anger and hatred towards me have skyrocketed, says Diane. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It is just, there's a lot of hate out there. And it is the media. It is social media. It's they could have a good news story, one that's not like getting people angry about immigrants and stuff like that, talking about an event that happened 20 years ago, and people will still get angry about it. They'll still be like furiously typing on their keyboards like this, which is kind of funny in a way, but just it's why on this channel we don't allow any trolls, because I just can't be arsed with it. I just can't be arsed every day with people coming on here going, you're a twat, you don't know shit. I find it interesting every time we do a talk with Phil. I do a talk with Phil on Fridays. You always get trolls on there being mean about me or being mean about Phil, saying, oh, we're talking bollocks or we don't know what we're talking about and all this kind of shit. And you're like, fuck off. Just go find another channel with people that you agree with on everything, who are obviously fucking oracles and know absolutely everything they're talking about that before they start the show. They've got all that knowledge, accumulated knowledge in their head. I don't think there is anyone. I watch a lot of interview shows, a lot of podcasts, and I'm sorry, but a lot of people seem quite, who do these shows, not necessarily politics shows, but they do seem quite ignorant of basic shit, and they have to be told it by their expert audience, guests that come on the show to tell them about stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I never felt the urge to go on a live stream and insult the people who are doing the live stream. I just watch the live streams that I like. I watch my friends do live streams. I watch their stuff. I watch Ollie's stuff. I watch Aid's stuff. I watch Katie Montgomery's stuff. And I'm not gonna watch someone I fucking hate just to write at them. I hate you. Life's too short, man. Life's too short. Why are you wasting your time? Like reading an article about some bloke who went to all the countries without flying, and then getting angry about it. But there you go. We think you're great, Graham. Oh, thank you, Gillian. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. The gutter press keeps their readership in a constant state of outrage. They read articles to make themselves feel better than other people. That next day they come back for another fix, and again, etc. Says Kirsty. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Kirst. I honestly, it is infuriating, but at the same time, we've got to a point now where the gutter press do not have to write a news story that is like rage baiting. They don't have to. I know they do, but they don't have to. They can write literally any article about anything, and people will be in absolute fury about it, the people who read these rags. The interesting thing is, though, apart from the family, certain members of the family, then, God bless them. God bless them. God bless him. God bless him. But yeah, apart from that, everyone else is just, target everyone else. You bastard, how dare you? Oh, what, this is BAFTA-nominated actress has just won an Oscar. Bastard, fucking, I hate them. Oh, they gave this award-winning performance. Someone did something nice for somebody. They put on a show for some kids in a deprived area. They put on a magic show. The bastard's doing a magic show. It's just like, oh my God. it just. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the Bollock-Faced Foghorn of ignorance. That is Nigel Farage. The Farage is seen as relatable to Westminster journalists because he plays this man in the pub character. He journalists treat him as a familiar pantomime villain rather than holding him to account. They say, have you got anything more to say, sir? And this is by giving Farage a platform, the media shifts the political centre to the right. This is the Overton window, moving to the right, as it often does. Politics. That would have at one time seemed unthinkable. Mass deportations, scrapping human rights. Now they're given this, they're treated as if they're legitimate political opinions in a liberal democracy such as the one that we live in. Which is, this is the creep of authoritarianism. First of all, people go, I won't do that. Then you say, oh, we can't do that. And then you go, oh, he has done that. And they go, okay, it's all right, though, we'll stop him. Oh, no, we can't stop him. Oh, well. And this happens time and time and time again. And I've got some news for you, right? Authoritarian regimes, totalitarian regimes who take over by democratic means are hardly ever in the history of humanity forced out by democratic means. Hardly any, my friends. Just doesn't happen. It's always a coup, always a war, always people fucking dying, or the person in charge fucking, the Salazar, the Franco, the Pol Pot, the Idi Amin. Even once they got rid of, in the case of Idi Amin, they die an old man in their sleep in their own bed. Never brought to task for all the crimes that they committed while in power. But there you go. America. Wow. Fuck no, America. So yeah, let's talk about the consequence of this. It gives Farage's Refuck UK. It has 4 MPs, but it is spoken about as if it's the main opposition. This distorts the public perception and undermines the actual opposition parties. I can't see the Tories being too happy about all this, but then again, the Tories are completely rudderless at the moment. So also rudderless, Amber Rudd. She's not a member anymore of the. I don't think she's a member of the party, is she? Amber Rudd. Yeah, they're rudderless and rudderless. Because Dr. Farage distorts the agenda, other parties feel pressure to respond to him, and this is something that from watching these shows, like winds me the fuck up, that Labour are constantly responding to Farage rather than Farage having to respond to Labour. It's the wrong way round. He is a tiny party of opposition MPs. The DUP has more MPs in Parliament than Refuck, right? Has more MPs. So how come if the DUP made a speech about how much they, hate Catholics or something, how come they don't get the coverage on news? I'm glad they don't, but do you think when Zach Polanski becomes leader of the Greens in a few days' time, do you think they're going to give an hour and a half to him talking about the Green Revolution and green populism? Are they? Just not going to happen. David Smith, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Labour will chase Refuck voters and alienate base with another island of strangers. Tories did open borders experiment speech with a weaker solution. Yeah, David, you're right. Labour are doing so badly at the moment. We saw today news that our winter fuel bill is going to go up again. The average fuel bill for the average household is going to be something like over £1,700. I mean, fucking hell. Like, if you're on a really fucking low-paid job, your tax allowance is 11,800, I think it is now. So the first 11,800 you earn doesn't get taxed, right? Like, that's like what is that? That's like a sixth, maybe a seventh of your entire fucking money for the year going on power for the house, energy. Just blows my mind when we've got all these mad wind farms everywhere in the sea, which can provide shitloads of electricity for fucking cheap, and yet this is what we're paying. We're paying because we have to pay whatever the fossil fuel giants, the filthy foreign slime companies want us to charge. Want to charge, and that's it. They control the price. Saudi Arabia controls the price of your heating. Saudi Arabia controls the price of your lecky. How fucking mad is that? And that's the situation that Farage doesn't just want to keep going. Farage wants to make that situation even worse by getting rid of any alternatives when it comes to renewables, like what Trump has done off the New England coast, where he's shut down a massive, massive wind farm that is halfway through getting set up. It's cost the taxpayer in America billions, and looks like it's going to make the company that's putting it together, a Danish company, makes it look like they're going to go they might go bankrupt as a result of this. A result of Trump and his Saudi handlers telling him what to do, and his Russian handlers, who makes loads of money out of fossil fuels. Well, Saudi, number one, and Russia. Russia is the third biggest fossil fuel exporter in the world. Still to this day. Nubadoc, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Great genuine question. What do you think is age verification thingy? I think that it is a good idea done badly. Does that just sum up Labour? A good idea done badly. Maybe sometimes it's a bad idea done badly for Labour, but for the age verification, there should be a national website run by the government, which has your data in anyway, because you put in your national security, your national insurance number, your passport, so they know who you are, and you get given, if you are a real person, you get given a code, and that code is unique to you. That is your code. And then when you go on these websites that you want to go on, I mean, it's not just porn. It's like Blue Sky. Do you want to respond to a message someone sent you? Oh, you need to verify your age. You put in that number, which is anonymous, but it's your number, and a passcode, whatever. Maybe it's linked to an email, at best, and it sends you an email just to confirm that that's yours and not someone else using your code, whatever you want, however you want to do it. And it lets you in. It lets you in. And that website doesn't know anything about you other than perhaps your email. And that's it, right? It doesn't know who you are, doesn't have a picture of your passport, doesn't have a picture of your driving license, because the government seem to want you to give your details to fucking porn sites. And no one's going to do that. What everyone's going to do, and what everyone has done, is they're going to get Surfshark or Nord VPN. They're going to buy a VPN and they're going to stick it on the computer and they're going to go, I'm in France. I'm in France. Can I reply to this message that someone has sent me on Blue Sky, please? So, yeah, good idea in general, because I don't want children accessing the darker parts of the internet. And I think that age verification is a necessary evil in order to protect the children. So when someone think of the children, yes, I'm thinking of the children, right? But it's the way they've done it, it's fucking stupid. And because VPNs exist, it's way too easy to get around. It really is. So what I would do is, like I say, have a government website, and also bring in the law that you can only use a VPN if you're over 18. And that has to be age verified as well, using the same process, using the government one website. You go in, you say, I want to prove that I'm over 18, comes up with a certificate saying that you are over 18. And then you can use that on all your social media profiles. That's what I would do, but, I'm not in charge, so whatever. Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Fuel bills wouldn't need to go up if we didn't tie it to the most expensive fuel going, which is gas. Yeah, which is fossil fuels. We tie it to fossil fuels. I don't know why we do this. I think we should stop doing it. But obviously the fossil fuel companies have got so much power, so so much power. It is diabolical how much power they have over our lives. And people talk about sovereignty. Don't make me laugh. Don't make me laugh, Chaz. Sovereignty? Julie, you're going to talk about fucking sovereignty, are you? Are you? Really, mate? You're going to talk about sovereignty? You're going to say, oh, we got our country back. Yeah. Well, explain to me why the machinations of Vladimir Putin and Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia mean that you and your nan have to pay extra to stay warm, to stay alive this winter. How's that sovereignty? Hey, explain that. Explain the sovereignty thing there. Go on, off you pop. Explain how sovereign you are. Go fucking paint a fucking red cross on something. Or maybe go paint the Swiss flag on something, because, you know. I saw, people take the piss like I do, because I know which way up the British flag goes, right? And sometimes I see the flag, see the Union flag, and it's upside down, and I'm thinking, oh, is that lamppost in distress? But there was a picture yesterday that I saw where someone had put an England flag up, the flag of St. George. And normally, it's symmetrical, You can't get it the wrong way around, you can't get it the wrong way up, right? It's just a red cross with a white background. Well, in this particular one, in case people didn't know that it was England and not, Georgia, which has a very similar flag, they'd written England in the middle of it, that had been printed in the band going across the middle. They had managed to put it upside down, even though there was a literal fucking word on the flag, and they still managed to put it upside down. You've got to wonder. You've really got to wonder. Anyway, so Helen says, good point, Graham. Oh, thank you. Oh, I always like it when I make a good point. Anyway, so we're talking about like Trump, Farage, Britain Trump, dominating the agenda. Having the other parties feel this pressure to respond to him, rather than set their own policies and set their own stall out. This is why I want Labour to do 9 a.m. press briefings every morning. This is what they should be doing. Oh my God, this is what they should be doing. And it drags the entire debate towards anti-immigrant rhetoric. And as I said yesterday, I think I talked about this maybe with Mike on Geoscope. We have, there was a survey that came out that showed that over 50% of people thought that this immigration, the anti-immigration rhetoric, whatever, the anti-immigration sentiment that has built up. So over 50% of people thought that immigration was a big problem for the country, right? But only about 3 or 4% thought it was a personal problem for them. Do you know what was a big problem for people? The cost of living. The cost of living, fuel costs, the NHS. Personally, now if Labour could just tackle the situation with immigration, which they can do very easily. If they wanted to cut down immigration, they could give out fewer visas, but they could do something else, which is what the SNP do. And kudos to the SNP. I've always said I liked Stephen Flynn. I know he has a pop at Labour a lot of the time. Sometimes it's fair enough, but he's very, I don't know, he's very erudite. So he puts his points across very well, I'll say. Even if I disagree with some of the points he makes, I think he puts the points across very well. And one of the points he put across very well during the last election, which a few other parties did, notable mention of the Greens, thank you to the Greens, Carla Denyer and Adrian Ramsey, who also pulled up this point, is about immigration being a good thing for Britain, being a good thing for Scotland, because he's Scottish. And a few politicians are going there, and they should. Labour should explain to people why immigration is a great thing. It makes us loads of money. Celebrate immigration, celebrate Notting Hill Carnival, and then celebrate all the amazing achievements done by immigrants to this country. Or should we call them expats to this country? Can we call them that? Because when we go to another country, apparently we're expats, but when people come here, they're immigrants. Why is that? Why is that? I don't know. But that's what Labour should be doing. They should be fucking celebrating immigration. And even if they don't want to go down that route, which I think is political suicide if they don't go down that route, but, whatever. Fine, but have those meetings, have those press conferences every morning, 9 o'clock. Nigel Farage wants to come stand up and say something, but no one will notice because the government's just announced this amazing nutty thing that they want to do, whatever it is. Always be campaigning. ABC, always be campaigning. Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Guardian website now. Tory chair says party will consider deal with Taliban to return Afghan migrants. UK Politics Live. Oh, thanks for the super chat. That's so depressing. A deal with the very men who shot British troops in Afghanistan. The very people who apparently helped mastermind the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Apparently. And people who helped Osama bin Laden with his terrorist training camps. Even though he wasn't really found in Afghanistan, he was found in Pakistan. But yeah, but we'll do a deal with them. We'll give them taxpayers' money. People are just about keeping their head above water. And you know what? All I hear in the media right now, when we talk about people keeping their head above water, it's rich people whinging about having to pay a little bit more tax, having to pay VAT on school fees. That's what people are whinging about. Having to pay this idea that they might have to pay 2% if they're earning over 10 million a year. Going on now. No, I'm going to leave the country. What about the people who are living just on the poverty line who can't afford to leave the country? What about the people who are doing all right, but still can't afford to leave the country? Because we left the EU and we can't just go somewhere and live without having to ask someone, without having to pay lots of money for the different permits that you need to live in another country, to get residency in another country. I mean, this is it. This is the absolute disgraceful situation we have found ourselves in because of the fact that the Old Boys Network well and truly runs this country. And God, they want us to know it. They want us to know it. And they are not concerned about the everyday struggles of normal people. They're only concerned about their struggle to get on that next, go to that next 3-star Michelin restaurant, to go to that next 7-star exclusive luxury resort hotel, to get on that private jet, to get in that private helicopter, right, to go where they want to go, to get hold of their drugs, to get hold of their cocaine, pure cocaine, straight brought in for them, especially they brought in it on a special plane for their cocaine, so it's not cut with any nonsense like baking powder and flour and shit. Yep, this is the narrative. They don't care about people struggling. They worry so much about the rich. The rich. Won't somebody think of the rich? I mean, £1 million inheritance tax. Like, you don't have to pay inheritance tax till you've got £1 million worth of assets off your parents. Oh my God, it's so unfair. Why is it £1 million? It should be £2 million. It should be £10 million. In fact, we should abolish inheritance tax because rich people deserve free money when their parents' car kit. That's okay. They deserve it. They've not worked for that money. Their parents did. But, we'll whinge about it and we'll say, oh, we're being double taxed, dickheads. Every time you buy a fucking Freddo in the shop, you're getting double taxed, dickhead, because you're paying VAT. You've already paid the income tax on the money coming in. And these motherfuckers, you've got £1 million in your bank account, you're earning tens of thousands of pounds a year in fucking interest. What does the capital gains take off that? Fuck all. Half of what it would take if it was income. So money sitting in an account, if you're, what's his name? Rishi Sunak, and you're earning $1 million, like just sitting from the money sitting, more than $1 million actually. But he's worth, what is he worth? 700 million, was it? 700 million pounds. He's one of the richest people in the country, him and his wife. Richest people in the country. The interest alone off that is worth millions a year. And the capital gains they have to pay on that is half of what they would have to pay if they were actually earning it by going into a job and cleaning toilets for 16 hours a day. Half. And they still fucking whinge. Rich people are never satisfied. It goes back to the famous story of, I think it was Joseph Haller and Kurt Vonnegut at a party. I might be saying the wrong authors, but I think it was Kurt Vonnegut, and they were at this party, this billionaire who had everything, and Kurt Vonnegut was asked, aren't you aren't you jealous of all the stuff this guy's got? He can just buy anything, And he said, no, I've got something that this guy will never have. Enough. The one with Joseph Haller, the story of Joseph Haller was when someone asked him at a party or in an interview or something, he said, aren't you sad that, you've never written anything as good as Catch-22 since you wrote Catch-22? To which he responded, no, that's fine because no one else has either. And I've got to say, top three. Honestly, I think I would go Hitchhiker's Guide. Not. It's difficult. Trying to do three. I'll say Lord of the Rings. But then Catch-22, Midnight's Children, Salman Rushdie. Absolutely fucking brilliant. I give Lord of the Rings a mention because Lord of the Rings isn't just a book. It is an entire mythology invented by one person. And it has influenced so much stuff that has come afterwards. Dungeons and Dragons would not be Dungeons and Dragons if it wasn't for Tolkien. We would have no Game of Thrones. We would have no, all the pop culture, fantasy stuff. It is just based, no World of Warcraft. It is so much based on the realms of Middle Earth, which, Tolkien did crib from Norse mythology. But, a lot of that Norse mythology was destroyed by proto-Christians who went around destroying anything that wasn't particularly Christian. From a lot of it survived up in, some of it survived up in Iceland, but in other Scandinavian countries, it just got burnt. They just burnt it all. They burnt all the stories. All the stories went up in smoke. So we just don't know. We have a tiny proportion of the legends we otherwise would have had. George, also the Christians. The Library of Alexandria was burnt down quite a few times in the past, but one of the last times it was burnt down, it was burnt down by the Christians, who also ran around chipping the faces off and chipping the tits and the cocks off images in Egyptian temples, which at the time were thousands of years old. They were already thousands of years old when the proto-Christians were running around, chiseling off people's knobs because they were naughty. And they did that in Rome as well. All of the Roman statues got their knobs chiseled off because they were rude. Jesus doesn't want baby Jesus wants to see that. But there you go. George only. If you don't like paying tax, don't have money. Yes, exactly, George. What a great point. Thank you. If you don't like gay marriage, don't marry a member of the same sex. Ta-da! Don't like abortion? Don't have one. Don't like sex? Don't have it. Fine. Leave everyone else be. Okay? Leave everyone else be. Anyway, so critically, Alistair, there isn't the main switch. That's the problem. We have 3-phase service head, which then feeds the flats directly into a loop. The installation is from the 1960s. Yes, it needs to be updated. Chris C, you're quite right. I don't know what Alistair said. I'm not saying Alistair's wrong. I'm just saying Chris C is quite right in that we have a lot of old infrastructure that needs to be replaced in order to really turbocharge our power grid to the point where we can all charge our cars. But a future in the next few years. Look, if we were told, right, at our place here in Durham, if we were told that for $2,000 with the government subsidy, we could get solar panels, right? So $2,000 of our own money, and then the rest is a government subsidy, but you pay it back over X many years by the power that you supply back into the grid. Why not? Why the fuck not? I mean, compared with building a fucking nuclear power station, that would be buttons. And it gets paid back as well. It gets paid back. That is one hell of an investment for the government. And it's an investment in people as well. And then once that money is paid back for, the cost of the solar panels, so, the upfront costs are a lot smaller than they otherwise would be. It costs $2,000 to get a fucking boiler these days. You've now got solar panels, and as soon as that's all paid off, you can start feeding into the grid. You have millions of people doing that, millions of households all over the country, and that is a lot of power getting fed into the grid, if necessary, if it's needed, And Florence says, this what Florence and the machine, or Florence the city? Viper Scott says, Graham, Iceland, some of the Viking history, the other Nordic countries asked for copies because of what you said happened to them. Yeah. And Iceland was quite lucky being so isolated. But there were, I guess, the equivalent of monks in Nordic in Iceland who actually hid a lot of the texts for when the Christians turned up, because they like to destroy every other religion. You know, peace and love, everyone. Peace and love. It's like Ringo Starr, innit? No more autographs. Peace and love. Peace and love. Anyway, the way Christianity spread around the world is a lot like the way Islam spread around the world, to be honest with you, and many other religions, Hinduism, no exception, and even Buddhism. Mate, even Buddhism. It was a question of, people standing in a line. Say to the first one, "Are you a Christian?" They were like, "No." "What's a Christian?" Dead. Next person, "Are you a Christian?" Yeah. Definitely that thing. Definitely whatever you just said. That guy wasn't. I am that thing. Whatever that is. Okay, cool. Religion. Anyway, up to this point, Judaism was the only religion that didn't really do that kind of thing. I mean, they don't like people converting to Judaism. It's very, very difficult. And even if you do convert, then some people don't accept you as a Jew ever, or your children, which isn't great for the, self-worth of a lot of people who consider themselves Jewish but are not accepted by certain cliques within the Jewish community. But what Israel's doing at the moment is not reflecting well on Jews around the world. It's really not. And that's sad. That's really sad, because I know none of my Jewish friends support what Israel's doing. And it's just making them look bad. It's just painting the target on their backs. It's just giving people an excuse to be anti-Semitic. Thanks for that, Netanyahu. On top of the horrors that are going on in Gaza right now as well. So every day, I wake up in the morning and check the news, and I check the international news, what's been happening in Gaza. I mean, it's always every day for the last 2.5 years. It's just been, oh my fucking God. Jeez, is this what they're doing? Is this, it's not even 2.5 years, is it? It's not even 2 years yet. It was October 2023, wasn't it? So it's not even 2 years yet. Bloody hell. Feels like a lot longer. My heart goes out to the people in fucking Gaza having to put up with this shit. And the international community's fucking silence on the matter. I'm going to write a strongly worded letter. Fuck off. We're going to tell you off. Going to say no, I've written something down. Here you go. You've been a very naughty boy. Yeah. That put you in your place, didn't it? That stopped you from massacring people. That stopped you from your genocide, didn't it? Oh no, you're still genociding. Oh. Okay, so that didn't work. No one could have seen that coming. Anyway, let's get back onto the main topic. Unfortunately, we're talking about the Bollock-Faced Foghorn of ignorance, but we will get onto other topics, I'm sure, later in the show. So there is this sort of democratic imbalance caused by the media fawning over Farage. The Greens, the SNP, Lib Dems, Plaid Cymru, all routinely ignored by the same broadcasters that fawn over Farage. Their voters' voices are sidelined. No one's speaking for them in mainstream media because you just don't hear their voice. And the more coverage Farage gets, the more he polls. The more justification broadcasters have to cover him. It's a dangerous feedback loop. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the BBC say they'll cover whatever they regard as newsworthy. Reform is polling well, so they justify giving it attention. But that argument ignores how much they have helped build Reform's profile in the first place. And the BBC insists on balance, giving Farage airtime to counter Labour or Tory voices. But balance doesn't mean one man, 50 appearances. It means reflecting the proportionality of votes, seats, and public interest. And at the moment, what's his name? Putin's pocket pal, Farage. He's only got 4 MPs. He's got 4 MPs in the only poll that matters, which is a general election. This is entertainment, not journalism. Farage gets booked on TV because he performs really well. But politics shouldn't be a reality TV show. But this is why the likes of Trump, who was a reality TV star, does so well. This is why Nigel Farage went and sat in the jungle and ate some fucking bugs, And let's have a look at the wider context of this. The UK media ecosystem is well and truly broken. Most of the press is owned by billionaire oligarchs like Farage, Rothermere, the Barclay brothers heirs, who prefer Farage's agenda They just prefer it to Labour's or the Greens or the SNP or Plaid Cymru or the Liberal Democrats. The BBC, desperate to not seem biased, end up echoing the same voices. And we've got international parallels, like I mentioned, with Trump. He got endless airtime, free airtime in 2006 because he was good TV. And the networks made billions off him. Billions with a B. The same is happening here. Farage is Britain's sort of Trump light. But just as evil, just as fucked up, just as wanting to do deals with the Taliban as what Trump did. Trump did a deal with the Taliban, which led to the deaths of American soldiers, led to this scramble to leave leave Afghanistan, which was a shit sandwich that he handed to Biden, which he then berated Biden about, but it was Trump that set that up. He met up with the Taliban, the people that the American troops have been fighting for 20 years in Afghanistan. He met up with them secretly and said, yeah, we'll give you everything you want. We're just going to pull all the American troops out. We don't care what happens to the people of Afghanistan, even the people who helped American troops. And we had this, while Farage gets an hour and a half on the BBC, where's the coverage of the Greens pushing for climate action? Where's the SNP raising Scotland's specific concerns? Where's the Lib Dems pushing for proportional representation or greater care across society for facilities for care for the elderly and the infirm? These issues are, they vanish from the front page while Farage fucking dominates, and the media class chooses to cover Farage to a point of, I didn't want to cover it this morning. I wasn't going to mention what he said. I was going to do a show where I just went, honestly, I was going to spend an hour talking about Tay and Kelsey Grammer, or whatever her name is. She's marrying Travis Kelsey. It was a bit of a tug for me because I was like, a tug of war. Not a tug. It was a bit of tug of war for me because I thought, I need to say this. I need to talk about how much the media fawns over Farage because it's a disgrace. And we need to know that it's a disgrace and we need to point it out that it is happening. So it's less about what Farage says. It's just about the coverage that I really want to get across this morning. Democracy is distorted when one man with 4 MPs gets more coverage than opposition parties with dozens. How many Lib Dems are there? 72 MPs. They get fuck all coverage in the news. The media makes Farage the story, and that choice has consequences for every other party and every voter in Britain. Negative consequences. So let's go on to the papers. So I'll read some of your messages first because you're all lovely people. Their response is cheaper to pay the Lecky bill, which is the residents pay via for service charge, than it would be to install and maintain a solar and battery solution. Great. It's not in the long one, though, is it? Paula, thank you very much. What are you saying? In some ways, it isn't what's going on in Gaza. It's a extreme version of an abused child growing up to become an abuser. Yeah, it's a really good way of putting it. Really, really good way of putting it. I mean, probably the trauma of what the Japanese did in China led to the horrors of what happened in China in the civil war that ensued after World War II. And then we've got Nick chat. Just saying indeed. We've got Nick saying so. It's Nick Thomas Simmons on GMB earlier replying to Madeley. Oh, Madeley. Fucking this morning. What's his name? Richard Madeley. Alan Partridge saying Labour are seen as having lost control. Proudly saying Labour have kept their promise to stay out of the single market. Slow hand clap. Kept our promise to keep everyone poor and disenfranchised. Okay, cool. Have you been ridiculed for Daily Mail interview yet? Asked Talk Madia. Only on the Daily Mail website. I did the interview for the Guinness World Records. It's the 70th anniversary, and they wanted me to talk about it. I didn't really have much control over where it ended up, but I don't care. I didn't get paid for it. It was something that I wanted to do and talk about the fact that I had a really good time visiting all these places. And the main thing I wanted to get across to people is that the world isn't such a bad place. And that I, like I say, didn't get beaten up, didn't get mugged, didn't get ill. And most of the people that I met were fucking lovely, which is something that in the interview I reiterated many, many times. I stayed with local people wherever I went around the world, and everyone looked after me, and I had a fucking great time. I hoped that would sort of drip into the minds of some of the readers of the Daily Mail and go, maybe our view of the world is slightly distorted, but Can't change someone's worldview with a fucking article. But yeah. But thanks very much to Talk Madia for the £2 super chat. It's very kind of you. Let's go over to the papers. Speaking of the papers, speaking of the right-wing rags. So the main story here, two absolutely incredibly important stories on the front cover of the Star. We first of all have Zoe copying Harry's style. So there. How cool is that? Yeah. Good on you, Zoe. And then we've got the main story, wedding tay. Trevor and Taylor. Trevor? Is that what we're going to call them? We're going to ship them. TNT. Taylor and Travis engaged. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged. In a joint Insta post, they said, your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married. It had 18 million likes when I last looked at it. I could check again and see how many it has now. But you know, that's all good. We have 100,000 pub and restaurant jobs set to go under Labour. I think you'll find that was Brexit, mate. I think you'll find that was Brexit. Because people coming from Bangladesh aren't going to want to work in a pub. Do you know why? Do you know why they won't want? No, you won't know. You don't know why they don't want to work in a pub, do you? Oh, for fuck's sake. The right-wing press is so fucking idiotic. Like, okay, so let me just explain. Right, if you come from Bangladesh, generally speaking, you're Muslim, you see? You don't really want to work in a pub around alcohol because that's not a thing in your religion. So since we got rid of all the people who were coming from Europe who could work in pubs, we now got people coming from the Indian subcontinent. So, yeah. And then we've got COVID and the response to COVID, which was awful. And then we got the point that because of Brexit, because of COVID, because of 14 years of Tory misrule, because of austerity, which the Tories did, people don't have the money to go out anymore. So everyone's just going to the supermarket and buying a bottle of Captain Morgan to last them a month. No one's going out because it's too fucking expensive. A round of drinks is like £25 now. £25. You used to get change from a tenner. I can't emphasize this enough. Like that the Tories have done such a number on the hospitality industry in this country, and yeah, it's because of their Brexit, because of their austerity, because of their response to COVID, and because of their disastrous mini budget. And that's why these places are having to close down. And the immigrants that we're getting at the moment might not want to work in a pub. I mean, they might. Just I'm not talking about everyone. I'm just saying, generally speaking, might not want to work in a pub. And also, cultural differences in Bangladesh is that you wouldn't see necessarily a woman from Bangladesh working in a pub. It just really wouldn't be done. I don't think. I've never seen anyone from Bangladesh work in a pub in all the times I've been frequenting pubs. And that's not a dig at people from Bangladesh. They do their own thing. That's fine. I don't care. But if you want people to come across from other countries to work in your hospitality sector because we've got an aging population and we have a declining birth rate, well, maybe pick people from nearby. You can do a few years working in the pubs in Richmond, and then they can go home when they're done serving pints for a few years. But no, we're not going to do that because we're fucking idiots. We are fucking idiots. Anyway, so moving on. A friend of mine in a tower block asked a neighbour to lower the volume and got her arm broken in 2 places. Fucking hell. Person in pain. That's awful. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry about that. Well, it's one of the reasons why, when they were putting up the fucking Union Jack flags, I didn't go up to them and say, "Oh, what are you doing, knobheads?" Because there was like 4 of them, and I thought, I don't want them to know where I live. I'll go to a neighbouring village where they've also put up flags and take them all down from that neighbouring village. And they'll never know. A friend of mine in a tower block, I've read that one. Blue Badger says, I'm catching up still. Decided to look how many homes have solar panels, about the same percentage as portion of energy mix. Sounds like a solvable solution. Yes, it totally is. So I gave a tenner to a homeless dude yesterday. Saw him again today. He said, "Give me more money, you wanker. Lol, that's life for you." Says Blood. When I was in New York in 1999, there was a guy who was begging at the side of the road, and he had a sign that said, "Need money for beer," and I gave him money because I just thought, well, fair enough, And actually, the most successful crowdfunder I've ever done, I think this was more successful than my crowdfunder to take aid to Ukraine and then pick up refugees and take them where they need to go around Europe. It was for the three blokes in the pub, and it was literally buy us a drink, buy the three blokes in the pub a drink, and we did really, really well out of that. Obviously, it was just a one-off, and it wasn't sustainable in the long term, and it meant, quite soon after doing trips to like Luxembourg and Gibraltar and Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, and to Switzerland to go and talk to the WTO. We ran out of money quite quickly on that venture because I kind of assumed it would keep coming, but it didn't. Harsh lesson to learn about crowdfunding. But most successful crowdfund that I think I've ever done was buy a round for the three blokes in the pub. And everyone was like, here you go. There's some money to buy a round. If you say, can I have some money to turn the heating on? I was like, fuck off. But if you say, can I get drunk? Like, oh yeah, here you go. Humans, hey. Not that I'm complaining. I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing it out as a weird thing that we do as humans. We're just like, yeah, buy you a drink? Yeah, I'll buy you a drink, mate. Okay, so we've got here the main story here, which is the most important story of the day, obviously. Taylor Swift is now engaged at the age of 35 to her long, well, two years they've been together with Travis Kelce, and who's an American football player who is also 35. So no age gap there. It all seems quite wholesome. It all seems rather wholesome, which is what I love about Taylor Swift. She is very, very wholesome and sexy and awesome and writes really, really good songs, and that really, really upsets the Trumpers because they're like, no, but she's a gorgeous young woman, and I want her to not be the all-American princess because she doesn't support Trump. This is why last year Trump wrote in all caps, "I hate Taylor Swift!" ! There's a presidential candidate writing, "I hate Taylor Swift. I hate this pop star." All caps, and that's why I love her, because Trump hates her. The enemy of my enemy is my favourite pop star at the moment. Farage, I will deport 600,000 illegal migrants. There aren't 600,000 illegal migrants. There aren't that many. There aren't that many. How are you going to deport them if you become PM? There aren't that many. It's as simple as that. There are not that many on the waiting list to be seen whether they deserve asylum. And plus, there's no such thing as an illegal migrant. This is, again, the Express just parroting the bullshit that Farage says without question, without saying, well, actually, technically that's not true. And do you know what's interesting? Because a lot of the people who follow this kind of shit, if you're talking about something, you make one tiny little mistake, they have to point it out. It's like, oh, you made a slight mistake there. I'm going to point that out. I'm in the comments. You made a slight mistake. Whereas when the newspapers that they read and they lap up makes a big mistake, like calls people illegal migrants when they aren't, that's fine. That's fine. But yeah, the idea that this is what he's going to do is tyrannical and evil and just really fucked up and will never happen. It will never fucking work. It just will not work. Unless he becomes a dictator, a Führer here, Farage the Führer, and takes us out the European Convention of Human Rights and rips up our Bill of Rights in this country and, basically destroys all the things that make us British, I guess. Anyway, so back over to the main story of the day, which is again, as I keep saying, it's Taylor Swift getting engaged, but also this is so typical of the Daily Mail. Look at this, right? This is just horrific, right? What this photo says about the smug. Yeah, Angela Rain looks really fucking smug there. She's smoking a little fucking vape thing, and she's sitting in like a canoe on holiday. Obviously, she doesn't look very smug. I mean, compare that to Farage sitting in his fucking his leather wing, what's it called? Wingback leather fucking chair, smoking a cigar with his pint. Yeah, he doesn't look smug at all. So this is the smug upper class elite who write this newspaper. That this is them calling working class women like Angela Rayner, calling them smug, which is exactly it's in the narcissist prayer, isn't it? Or Darvo, deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. I know what you are, but what am I? It's like it is classic Nazi rhetoric. It's to accuse your enemy of that of which you're guilty. And do you know what? Those fucking rich bastards who run every aspect of your life, they look quite smug to me. They look fucking smug to me. But there you go. Mr. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. Thank you. One, I remember being really depressed when I couldn't buy 5 pints for £1. In 1988, when I moved to my current home, there were 3 pubs at the bottom of the road, all now closed. Yeah, all now closed. That doesn't surprise me. Same thing happened in Liverpool, in West Derby. A lot of the pubs closed down. A lot of the there's still the Sefton, there's still the Standard that's still going. I don't know, the Bulldog on Layfield Road and Blackmore Drive, Honey's Green Lane. I don't know if that's still going. That was a flat roof pub. That was a bit rough. There was the Bulldog and there was a Greyhound. Greyhound's not there anymore. It's now a Subway. And a Pizza Hut, I think. But yeah, lots and lots of pubs. There's pubs in Liverpool that were either burnt down. There's one that was on the East Lancs Road where it meets Long Lane. That got burnt down. It's a huge pub, like massive pub that got burnt down. Yeah, a lot of places just closed down because everyone went to the city centre to have a drink. But now, more than ever, you sort of see people wanting to just go locally for a drink rather than go all the way into town and all the way back. Culture has changed again. It's shifted. People don't necessarily want bars. They want somewhere that's just down the road, local, and the locals are all closing because it's just become an unsustainable business because of greed. Because not just, we talked a little bit about the fact that it's hard to get staff, but also the greed of the big companies like Weatherspoons and Green King and all those others. The way that their business model runs is detrimental to the actual, the flowering of pubs, but especially when it comes to deals with breweries who just want to screw these pub owners over in every way, shape and form, squeeze every penny out of them and then shut the pub down and sell off all the assets and they've made some money and then they go on to give that money to their shareholders. It might be in other countries. So yeah, the number of pubs that are closing down is a worry and no mistake. So back to the Daily Mail, which apparently I'm in. I don't know if I'm in this edition or just on the. I don't know if I'm in this edition. I'm not going to buy it. I might be, but I'm definitely on the website. But you don't need to read it. It's not. I don't think I don't think you're going to learn anything about me that you didn't already know. Yeah, it might be worth hunting it out if you really want, just to read the comments. But do me a favor. If you do go over there to read the article about me that's in the Mail today, please don't respond to the comments. Just don't waste your time. Just have a read and just go, all right, yeah, your typical Daily Mail reader. This is the stuff that they freak out about. How dare you do this thing? How dare you do this, positive, wholesome thing, proving that you don't have to be a fucking Nepo baby to do these kind of adventures, which for a lot of us are we look at who gets to do these adventures on TV. It's always Nepo babies. It's always the children of the rich. It's always the kids who went to private school. Every time. I went to my local pub on Monday. £6.50 a pint. Won't be going again. Says time of the year. Yeah, keep saying this. £6.50 for a pint of lager. I was in Newcastle the other day and I stopped to get there's a place called Granger Market, which is really cool in the centre of Newcastle, and it's got all these market stalls, but it's also got a lot of food places to eat at, and I just got like a little mini gyros and a little Greek kebab basically, and I got a bottle of pop with it. I got like a bottle of Sprite, and it's like £3 for the bottle. £3 for a bottle of Sprite. I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Seriously? Do you remember in the 90s, right? Those of you a little bit older, like myself. Do you remember when Virgin Cola came out and Pepsi and Coke freaked out? And Pepsi and Coke, to destroy Virgin Cola, which is like a little upstart, pissing on their turf, they cut the price of a can of Coke and a can of Pepsi to 15p. 15p for a can of Coke. Until they had successfully wiped Virgin Cola out, and then they put the prices back up again. 15p. Jesus. I go out. I drink before I go out in an evening. Out for about 2 hours, drinking cola. Go home and have more drink at home, listening to music. Says L. Yep, that's the way to do it. I've got my little fucking hip flask. I take my hip flask everywhere. If I'm going out, I have a hip flask with me. Simple as that. Because, I can't drink that fast. I don't have the money. Plum Duffs. My mum used to buy potatoes in our local boozer from a bloke called Randy Alf. Half the bag was always full of rocks. I love that story, Plum Duff. That's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing. Fat Spicer could get an entire weekend out of a £20 note around 1998, 2000-ish. Castlemaine 4X, £1.60 a pint. Where did that go? Yeah, Fat Spicer. I entire weekend out at I could get Thursday night indie night. Friday night was kind of a mix between rock and indie, and Saturday night was hard rock. And at the Crazy House in Liverpool, and I could go all three nights for less than 20 quid. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. Fucking did it. I had to walk home at the end of the night because the taxis were too expensive. But yes, as low as 10 pence. I remember that. Do you remember you used to be able to get beans? Oh my god! So I was at a house party once, right? At a friend's house, and he lived quite close to the Tesco on Rose Lane. Alton Road, Rose Lane, Tesco. People in Liverpool, Martin, you know what I'm talking about. And it just opened. I think it was the 90s. I think it just opened, and they were selling cans of beans for like a penny. A penny. It was like a penny for a can of beans. Like, I don't know. So what we thought would be fun to do, some of us who stayed up all night drinking, at about when it opened at sort of 7 a.m. or whatever, and our host was asleep. Me and a bunch of us went over, and I think there was a number that you could get. You could only like 16 or something each. So there was a big gang of us went over there, and we all bought like 16 cans of beans each. And then we went to my friend's house, and we stacked the beans up in front of his front door. So it filled the entire door with beans, and then we pressed the doorbell. They opened the door to this wall of beans that we had got for about, I don't know, a quid from the fucking supermarket. It was a prank. It was a funny prank. I think we gave all those beans to the local food bank afterwards, actually. But yes. Imagine opening your front door and there's just a wall of cans of beans in front of you. Anyway, you wouldn't be able to do that now because it would cost too fucking much. It cost like £100 to do that prank. My God, the pranks you used to pull. Is there a thing where you could you knock and run? You get like a fishing line, and you could like put a fishing line on someone's doorknob, and then just pull it and knock, and they'll open the door and they'll see the kids across the road. And we'd be like, shut the door, knock again. He opened the door again. And then he realised what we'd done and chase after us. It was great. Great days. Or you had a mate on the other side of the road and you pretend to pick up a rope. As the car went past and the car's like, fuck. Yeah. Anyway, Crazy House, Martin, 2 for 1. Yes, 2 for 1 on Veg Stripe. Veg Stripe, 2 for 1. And my current and previous partners were all going there at the same time. That Tesco is still there. Yeah, I know Tesco is still there. I was there last week. With my mum and my girlfriend to get some picnic stuff. Sky News breaking. Resetting minister. Resetting EU relationship will take time. Yeah, and we know why that is, says Nick. Well, it's because there's just no public appetite for it. But Nick, you're right in a way. I mean, if Labour did more to control the narrative, they could push people towards wanting to have closer relations with the EU, but they don't. They don't do the work. They can't be asked. I think maybe the Labour MPs are a bit lazy, I think, in this regard. That they should be controlling the communications. And they don't. They fucking don't. Anyways, I'm going to head over to the papers here. And what I wanted to talk about for a moment is Truss budget Mail front page. Because finally a politician who gets it. And I just want to show something to you, that was a thing, quite until, quite recently, this was a thing that, was a thing. that let's have a look. I'll bring this over to the, oh god, my computer's just thinking about stuff. Sorry about this. It's not quite as slick. It's not quite as slick as I would like it to be. Perhaps. Oh, fucking. Why do they set things up differently on different things? Right. Yes. Oh, there you go. So there you go. I just want to bring this picture over here. Just as a little thing here. So we've got the Daily Mail on one side of the page there, saying, "At last, a true Tory budget." This was them celebrating Liz Truss's mini budget. Liz Truss's mini budget being celebrated by the Daily Mail. Yep. A true Tory budget. And then look at what the newspaper says today. Finally, a politician who gets it. Do you like being on the wrong side of history, Mail? Is that what you like? Do you like doing that? Is that like some sadistical thing that you like to just make an arse of yourself? Is that where we're going with this? Making an arse of yourself again, but steel of the new Iron Lady, they said. Advert for Vistaprint there. So boring, it's almost fascinating. Season 2 of With Love, Meghan is given just 2 stars by The Guardian. There you go, 2 stars. I think those 2 stars are Meghan and Harry. They're stars. There you go. And my favourite childhood outfit, little story there. Okay. And then we've got Farage accused of ugly populism over plans for mass deportations. Refugee leader threatens to pay Taliban and other regimes to take refugees. To pay monstrous regimes that have killed British soldiers. British taxpayers are going to give them money. We're going to give money to the government of Afghanistan. Straight up. UN calls for justice over killings in guards of war. Quite rightly, they should call for justice over that. I don't know if they're going to get it, but they've written a strongly worded letter. The really important stuff. It's a love story. That's from the Taylor Swift song, "Love Story." That's a lyric from it. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are now engaged. Did I mention that? Did I mention that? I want to see how many likes it's got on Instagram. Am I still allowed to go on Instagram, or will it ask me for age verification? Oh yes, I'm still allowed to go on it. That's good. Let's have a look. Taylor Swift. She now has 27.4 million likes. 27.4 million likes. That post, that's from the post. That picture there has now got more likes than many countries have populations. That is kind of crazy. But there you go. Summer likely to be hottest ever in the UK. Something for the boomers here, and obviously I'm going to say it now before I get shouted at by Anne. Not all boomers, but there's some things that you need to know about boomers, right? First of all, is that the number of children who died, boomers, when boomers were parents, right? Not grandparents, but parents. The number of children who died was twice the rate that die now. Twice the rate. Not from medical stuff, but from accidents. Okay? Twice the rate from accidents and being abducted, being kidnapped, twice the rate. Okay. And also, right, here's something as well. So there was adverts on TV in America. And I don't know if they had them over here, but I seem to remember maybe they just took the piss in The Simpsons on one episode or something. But they had adverts that said, "Parents, do you know where your children are?" Because parents back in the 80s had to be reminded that they had children. I just, okay. But one of the things that boomers love to do, right, is not all boomers with bad parents, and not all boomers claim that climate change is not real or nothing to worry about. But enough of them do, right? A lot of them do. And what they'll say is, "We survived the summer of 76. Right. Here's the thing, Daddy-O. The summer of 76, although it was a very, very long hot summer, was nowhere near as hot as the summers that we've been having this century. In fact, there have been 5 summers that have been hotter overall, than the summer of 76, which is seen as one of the hottest summers of all time. And that's the thing that boomers like to point to and say, "I remember the summer of 76. That was dead hot. We've had hot summers before." Yeah. But there's been 5 hotter summers than that in the last in the last 20 years because of climate change. Because it's getting hotter and hotter, and it's not raining as much. And when it does rain, the rain is coming down, and it's a lot of rain in a short period of time. And because the ground has become impacted, because it's got so dry, it's not absorbing the water so much, so we're having more floods. And oh my God, it's a fucking disaster. But yeah, just maybe point that out to older people when they say about the summer of 76 being the hottest summer ever. It wasn't. It wasn't. And this summer is likely to be the hottest summer ever. Many remember 1976 as being a scorching summer. This is what it says in the article here, with a record heat wave, but this data would relegate that year out of the top 5 warmest summers since records began in 1888. It would mean all 5 of the warmest summers on record had occurred since 2000. Do you know, I just want to let you into a secret. I just read that, right? And I knew that. I knew that off the top of my head. Separately to what I could get a job. I could get a job doing that, writing stuff for newspapers. I know this stuff. Oh, wow, we got a mega chart. Sorry, I've got all, my mouth's not working. Thank you very much to Plum Duff. £50 mega chat. A mega chat. Woohoo! A mega chat. Thanks for being great, people. You give me hope. Love to you all. Oh, thank you, Plum Duff. You give me hope too. Thank you so much for the mega chat. Mega chat. Got a mega chat. That's really cool. Thank you. Really awesome of you. Okay, so yeah, we'll get back to the papers now. This is the Guardian here. And then we'll move on to the Financial Times, which doesn't cover the story of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce getting together, unfortunately. But there you go. US offers air and command backup for Ukraine for support for Europe's post-war shield, intelligence assets to protect troops. I don't know if you can trust them, but there you go. Yield gap. Trump pressures Fed. Pressure on Fed spurs bets on short-term rate cuts, but with risers ahead. And then we have the US Treasury bond yields, which have gone up to a high there for the 30-year bond yields, which means that the government is paying more in interest to the people who lent it money. Here we go. We got another super chat from Miss Paula Thomas. Thank you so much. That is very kind of you. In June 1978, snow fell in central London. Yeah. There you go. Strange things happen. Strange things happen all the time. It's very strange. Kirsty says, 76 is so remembered as it was a dry one, widespread drought. It might be warmer now, but it is warmer and wetter. But yeah, no, there's still a drought. There's still a drought going on. God, it's quite distracting. I've got Taylor Swift's Instagram feed on my screen here. I might have to close that down. It's a bit raunchy. It's good. It's distracting me. Martin Harrow, amazing Plum Duff. You're great and affirm there are nice people out there. Yay! That's from Martin. And Kirsty says mega chat. To Plum Duff. Thank you, Plum. Thank you, Plum. Boomer Gaminy thickies don't know how averages work. Kel Surprise. They also don't like French phrases. I remember in the 80s there were adverts saying please don't waste water. They was like, I'm at Britain's biggest reservoir and it's nearly run empty, and they had loads of kids around the man. That was a big thing in the 1980s, and all the kids would shout out, please don't waste water. I mean, could you imagine the Bird's Eye ads now? You just couldn't do it, could you? This old guy with a beard on a ship for months at sea, collecting all the fish's fingers with a crew of children. Yeah, bit worrying. That was normal. That was normal for the 80s. The 80s were a fucked up time. They really were. Cocaine is a hell of a drug. What can I say? So we're going to go back to the papers now. For this strange story, mathematician Gerko earned $682 million last year from quant trading firm XTX. Alex Gerko earned £682 million from the profits of his trading firm XTX Markets last year, cementing the billionaire founder's position as one of Britain's richest people. Apparently he's a mathematician. There you go. Study maths, kids. You'll be a multi-billionaire one day. And then we'll go over to the... there's an advert there for a fucking ugly watch. Theatre's big mystery. being covered by the Daily Telegraph here at the top here. Will they cast a real bear as Paddington? No. Megan takes fresh swipe at Palace. Okay, she's in her right to do it. Lovely there with Travis and Taylor looking very much in love. Oh, it's a love story. Big news of the day. I was just going to talk for the whole hour about this. I hope you don't mind. But you know, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And she's got a 12th album coming out. A 12th album. She's going to be leveling with the Beatles. Although it did take her 20 years to get to this point, where it only took the Beatles 8 years. But you know, that's another story. But yeah, she's got the Life of a Showgirl is coming out on October the 3rd. I'm going to be there. Rough Trade Records in Liverpool. First in the queue. I'll stay up all night. Be like a Star Wars Episode 1 all over again. Take me tent and camp out outside. There's a bad joke to be made there, isn't it, about people sleeping in tents on the streets going, oh, is there a new Star Wars movie? Shouldn't make that joke, should I? No. It's inappropriate. Taliban to give Farage deal on migrants. Taliban to give Farage deal on migrants. You seen the way they report this? You see the way they report this shit? Taliban to give Farage deal on migrants. They don't say what the reality is, which is Farage giving taxpayer money to the fucking Taliban. To our enemies. To our sworn enemies. He wants to give our sworn enemies money. Money. Wow, we spent 20 years trying to stop the Taliban being the tyrannical rulers of Afghanistan. We failed in that effort, and now Farage, Britain Trump, wants to give our money to the Taliban. Prostate cancer to be most common in UK. Prostate cancer will soon become the most common cancer in the UK. Figures have shown that's quite disturbing. Then we've got Rayner urged to clarify her main residence, because they fawn over Farage, who's got like 3 fucking residences, who lives half his time in another country. He's got a Greek, German wife. He's got a fucking French mistress. He can do what the fuck he likes, but a working class woman has more than one house. Who's the deputy prime minister, and it's like, oh my god, no, weird. Jewish teenager shot in head with air rifle. Jewish teenager has been shot with an air rifle and swastikas daubed on a rabbi's home in a series of anti-Semitic attacks in Bournemouth. That is fucking disgusting. That is so upsetting. And yeah, I just this is the world now. This is the world where people who are flagrantly anti-Semitic feel empowered. They feel absolutely empowered. And part of that reason is because of what Israel is doing. My heart goes out so much to the poor people in Gaza, in the West Bank as well, who are having their lives turned upside down by the fucking Israelis. But my heart also goes out to Jewish people around the world who are, peaceful, loving people who just want to get on with their lives, just want to look after their family, just want to see their friends, just want to go out for, a nice coffee now and again, and they're having their lives turned upside down by that bastard Netanyahu, that bastard criminal scumbag Netanyahu, that wanted war criminal fuck-faced gobshite Netanyahu. He's fucking people's lives up all over the world, not just in Gaza, but all over the world. Why? For what? To keep his filthy, disgusting, wretched, worthless arse out of jail. That is it. Why he's doing all this, to keep himself out of jail. Same with Putin. Why is Putin doing all the horrible shit he does? Because he doesn't want to be thrown out of a window. He doesn't want to spend the rest of his life in a gulag. Not that he would. They'll throw him out of a window. And then after he's gone, they'll eulogize him. I was talking earlier this week about Trump and the big beautiful day, talking about what it's going to be like when it happens. I mean, I didn't talk too much about the celebrations, which possibly I should have. But one of the things I should have talked about, I think, is how MAGA will react. And I think that MAGA will do the same thing that the communists did with Lenin, what the animals did with Snowball in Animal Farm, and they'll deify him. They'll deify him. They'll say he did everything right, and it was a deep state came and got him with whatever progressive illness he's got. I think if he dies soon, I think they're going to just say he's the most wonderful human who ever lived. But here's the thing. even if he has a 4-year, 8-year, 12-year reign of terror over the next few years, right? The next 12 years, and fucks everything for everyone in America and makes America an absolute basket case with, that ends up breaking apart into constituent parts of, the North and the South, maybe. He'll still be remembered fondly by the nutters who follow him. And I'll tell you why I think that. Because in the 90s, there were protests against Boris Yeltsin, the then president of Russia, the new Russian Federation. And the protests had little old ladies holding up signs of Stalin. Of Stalin. The guy who managed to massacre, 60 million of his own people? Pictures of Stalin. Unbelievable. Could prostate, this is from Fat Spicer. Thank you very much for the £2 super chat, mate. Can prostate link to poor diet, high food costs? Maybe. I mean, one of the main reasons why so many people are getting cancer at the moment is because we're just not dying of other stuff. We're just not. Like, childhood diseases used to wipe out vast swathes of the population. It's why people used to have 7 children, because 6 of them would fucking die before their 5th birthday. And now that is rare. That is very rare when that happens, thankfully. It's usually a front page news story if a child dies. And it's horrible. I mean, it's horrible to read about, but you go and have a look at a graveyard and, with graves in from the 1950s and check how many kids are there. There's fucking loads of kids. So we're not dying of childhood diseases. And generally speaking, even back in the medieval days, if you made it to your 5th birthday, there was a good chance you'd make it to your 50th, you'll make it to your 60th, you'll make it to your 70th. People lived 70 years. And it wasn't just kings and queens who lived that long. It was just normal people lived that long, even back then. Even in the Bible, they talk about 80 years and 10. That's 70. That was back in the fucking Bronze Age. This is a normal lifespan. It was obviously during the Industrial Revolution, people were breathing in toxins all day and died. We talk about people in the mines working and dying of black lung, and people being signed up to fight in the army, to be in the trenches in World War I, etc. That brought down the average life expectancy. But when you got older, there was a bunch of other stuff. So once you got to sort of 60, you had, was it Mike? I think Mike was telling me that 60 to 70. I think it's called Sniper's Alley. When you get that, if you make it to 70, you're all right. But in that age group from 60 to 70, there's a lot of things that can take you out. But there's not as many as there used to be. And therefore, because we're not dying of other stuff, we're not dying of appendicitis. We're not dying so much of things like sepsis, which would have been a fucking death sentence many moons ago. I mean, it still can kill people, but generally speaking, we can, if we get it in time, we can sort out blood poisoning. People aren't dying of malaria to the degree that they were just even 10 years ago. Very, very few people are dying because of starvation in this country, because there is enough food to go around. I mean, it's not assigned proportionately by any way in any form, but that people aren't dying of starvation. So people aren't dying of the cold necessarily. I think Labour were quite lucky. I didn't see any stories last winter about pensioners who had their winter fuel allowance taken away from them, who had died because they didn't put the fire on, didn't put the heater on. But people used to, literally die of the cold, and they don't anymore. So what have we got left? Cancer, dementia. Pick a poison. Pick a way to go out. So this is why more people are getting cancer these days, because we're just not dying of something else. But also, I think there are environmental factors, as you mentioned, like food that we eat, ultra-processed foods can't be good for us, and the amount of toxins that we inhale every day because of all the filthy foreign slime cars that we have, all the cars that are just pumping out gas that kills you. If you turn the key on in your car and you close the garage door, you fucking die. You fucking die. Because it's fucking toxic to humans. And the amount of people who smoke, still 1 in 5 people fucking smoke in this country. I think they're fucking crazy. I couldn't think of anything crazier to do than to give money to these big American tobacco barons who just destroy the world and are planting crops to fucking smoke, rather than actually, planting crops for people to eat. these disgusting oil barons. Sorry, petrol barons. No, the other ones, the tobacco barons, who go around suing developing nations for wanting to put fucking health warnings on packets of cigarettes in countries where literacy rates are quite low. Actually, it's the literacy rates around the world are at a historic high at the moment. But that said, and even putting like health warnings on cigarette packets, half the population of Sierra Leone aren't going to be able to fucking read it. But yeah, they get taken to court by the tobacco barons, and you're funding them. You're giving them 20 quid a week, or however much you spend on cigarettes. You're giving that money to, I know some of that goes on tax, but some of it goes to the tobacco barons to be more evil, to spread their evil, cancerous fucking death sticks around the world. I mean, why would you give money to that? If it was a charity that killed people in developing countries, killed children in developing countries, over 500,000 children die every year in developing countries from passive smoking. Because the parents smoke in their one-room shack that they live in, and they breathe it in, they develop asthma, and these are not places where it's easy to get a ventilator inhaler, and they fucking die. They fucking die. What would you sign up to a charity that says we literally kill people in other countries? Give us £20 a week. Oh yeah, cool. I'll give you £20 a week. I mean, it's £20 a packet now, isn't it, for cigarettes? If you're on a £20 a day, if you're on a packet a day habit, I don't know if anyone is anymore. I don't know if anyone can afford that kind of thing. But like, fuck me. Imagine giving £140 a week to a charity that kills people. Or an arms company. Can you go and make some landmines to maim some children, please? That'd be great. Literacy rate. Sierra Leone. I give Sierra Leone as an example. What is the literacy rate? Whoa! I'm good. I'm sorry. I just, I've got to say that was an educated guess. But if we were doing a pub quiz and I said 50% literacy rate in Sierra Leone as just a random country that I just plucked out the air, it's actually 48.64%. Thank you. I just want to do this. I was right. Don't often get to use that animation. It's usually I was wrong. But yeah, anyway, sorry. I'll stop going off on one about cigarettes now. Fucking cigarettes. I hate the smell of them. They smell disgusting. Anyway, so yeah, this is why prostate cancer is going up. Okay, so colonial revenge con hits British woman. Fraudsters in Ghana are targeting British women and online scams as retribution for colonization. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. That's awful. Those caught by police feel little remorse for the financial destruction they have wrought, and some claim it is retributive justice for gold and slaves seized by the British Empire. So, I have sympathy for some of the people caught up in this, because this is a scam involving Western women who want to enter into a relationship. So they're not necessarily out for their own. Well, I suppose they're out for their own ends in a way, but it's not triggered by greed necessarily. I have no sympathy whatsoever for anyone who gets caught in a scam because they're greedy. Because they got an email that said, hey, give me your bank details and I'll put £2 million in your bank account. And they went, all right, £2 million that you didn't earn, that you don't deserve, and, you got bitten. Well, don't be greedy. That's it. If something sounds too good to be true, it generally is. But, I got sympathy for people who are duped into giving money to charities that turn out to be bullshit, or give money to a good cause that turns out to end up paying for, I don't know, someone's spa to be built. I have sympathy for that, because that's when you are preying on people's better angels. So I do have some sympathy towards that. But I'm sorry to find this funny, but I do find it funny that the fraudsters in Ghana are being caught again. Well, they fucked us for years, so, yeah. Kind of got a point. But yeah, if they're going to go after everyone, I'll prefer they went after the big British corporations that have done rather well out of the exploitation of Africa, the ongoing exploitation of many of the countries of Africa, rather than individual citizens in the UK. Still, I can find it a little bit funny. Long-term borrowing costs near 27-year high. Britain's long-term borrowing costs are nearing the highest level since 1998. Funny that, 1998. What year was that? That was a year after Labour government had won in 1997. And the Tories have been in charge for 18 years, up to that point. And now we are, 1 year after Labour just got into power, after 14 years of Tory misrule, and long-term borrowing costs are on a high. Funny that. It's almost as if the Tories make an absolute fucking an absolute fucking disaster, an omni-shambles, a clusterfuck of our economy. And then they hand this shit sandwich to the Labour Party and go, yeah, you sort that out for us. We're just going to hide in the shadows for 10 years and then we'll come back and fuck things up some more. It's a lot easier to destroy than it is to create. Imagine the mortality rate if reform got in. So it's fat spicer, people who are getting the older vote for them not realising their healthcare would be removed. Infuriating. Yeah. Miss Paul Thomas, I remember the shock on the face of a smoker wet friend when they found out how many amputations were due to smoking. It's really grim. And it smells horrible. It honestly smells like death. It smells like death to me. It just reminds me of my nan who died of lung cancer. That's what it reminds me of. Take me back to those wonderful days when I was 8 years old without a care in the world, except my nan was slowly dying of wasting away from lung cancer. Farsighted cancer is a kind of reversal to a single cell logic for our cells. Think about it like existed for 3.5 billion years as single cells, but multicellular life has only existed for around 0.6 billion. That's very true. Multicellular life has not been around for very long. And cancer is the splitting of cells, and it splits incorrectly. It does something fucks up. But because it's your cells, your body doesn't do what it normally does when it gets a virus, disease, parasite or something. It doesn't attack it. It doesn't go, fucking, I'm going to have this foreign invader into my body because it's your body. It was put by Christopher Hitchens as, who died of cancer. It was put as the dark twin or the opposite of being pregnant. Because instead of life growing inside you, it's death growing inside you. But it's your body. And that's what makes it so difficult to get rid of. It makes it so difficult for, we won't get a cure for cancer because cancer is an umbrella term that covers hundreds of different cancers. It's all got the same theme, which is that that there was cell division and there was a mistake. There was a mistake in the cell division. Cell division has happened so many trillions of times probably during your lifetime, and then it takes one to fuck up and develop cancer. But it doesn't help when you are ingesting toxins. It doesn't help when we are inhaling toxins every fucking day. It doesn't help when half our brain is being made up of fucking microplastics now. That really doesn't help matters at all, and especially smoking. Smoking really doesn't help. Smoking, it doesn't just cause lung cancer; it causes several different types of cancer, including cancer of the throat, cancer of the tongue, cancer of the mouth. Cancer. It's really grim. It's really grim. It's really toxic, and also radioactive. Radioactive, yeah. Cigarettes. You may as well just be rolling up a bit of Chernobyl. Yes. Oh, I feel that radiation in my lungs. It's good for me. Anyway, next spot on. We were promised the Brexit dividend. 8 years now. You're very quiet about the damage you cause, and brown people in little boats in the ECHR. Utter shit, says Brett Wall. Yes, and yes to Nick as well. This is what Labour should be doing. If Labour had any fucking brains or balls, they would be standing up and saying, where's our Brexit dividend, Nigel? Where's our Brexit dividend? You told us it was going to be great. And they'll be showing clips of Nigel Farage saying it was going to be great, and then saying he was going to leave the country if it was a disaster, saying, why haven't you fucking left, knobhead? Why haven't you left? I mean, you never in Clacton, but what you said you were going to leave if it was a disaster. You've said it was a disaster. Why haven't you left? Go after him. Go absolutely after him. And in doing so, tar him with the same brush as the fucking Tories of just the comic misrule of these posh pompous twats who don't know what they're doing. Anyway, so we will go back to the papers now. We're not quite finished, because there's a brilliant cover of the Mail, which unfortunately does have a picture of Nigel Farage on, but he's quite small in this picture. But I will try and help a little bit by moving my little Farage face onto there. I think that I need to just transform this, so I need to just flip horizontal. There you go. Okay, so there's Farage's disgusting face there, just covered over. Farage will deport 60,000 asylum seekers. I thought it was 600,000. Make up your mind. These plastic patriots don't get country's values. Evil Taliban are ready and willing to work for refuck. And this is what he's saying, like he's saying that he's going to give our money, our taxpayer money to the Taliban. Also at the top there, the most important story is Taylor Swift is getting hitched. Taylor Swift getting married. Very, very important that you know that. Let's move this up a little bit because I think this is a fantastic cover here. We have got Farage. We'll have to just cover his face there. There you go. Oh wow, that works quite well, doesn't it? Obviously we've got a little frog. Let's just do something here. We just copy that and then we just paste that on top of there, and then we just there you go, and we'll just make that a little bit smaller. Sorry, I'm just kind of photoshopping in real time here. Hope you don't mind. There you go. Look at that. That's beautiful. Someone take a screen cap. Britain is better than this, and they've got Farage here, looking like a gobshite because he always does. We have been here before, says Paul Routledge, writing for The Mirror. Even in modern times, there is a long history of right-wing politicians playing the migrant card. And now we're seeing it again with Nigel Farage riding to popularity on the back of understandable public concern over boat people. The rhetoric may change, but the message of divisiveness remains the same. In Britain's polarised society, politicians must look to their consciences before speaking for the sake of decency and humanity and the values they all claim to hold dear. Britain is better than this. Why aren't all the newspapers reporting? Why aren't Labour going out and saying this? Why aren't Labour doing a press conference this morning and pointing out all the hypocrisy? That's what they could have done. They could have said, right, BBC, ITV, Channel News, Channel 4 News, Channel 4 News, Sky News. Come on, CNN. Come on, everybody, NBC, MSNBC. Come into this room and we're going to do a talk and we're going to deliver this lecture on why Farage is full of shit. Where are they? They are nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. Like, what the fuck, Labour? What the fuck? Why are you just letting Farage get away with this shit? Why are you letting Farage get away with this shit? That's what I want to know. That's all I want to know. Anyway, we've got one more paper to go, which is the Metro, which I will bring up now. Always bringing up the Metro. Right. Refuck unveils shock small boats plan. Farage, end the scourge. I'll deport 600,000 migrants in 5 years if I'm Prime Minister, Reform leader claims. No, you won't, mate. No, you won't. You're a lying piece of shit. Oh, hang on. That's not the right thing. Whoa, I just moved the wrong thing. There we go. There we go. Put him there. Reform unveils shock small boats plan. Farage end the scourge. I will detain every illegal arrival and pay Iran and the Taliban to take asylum seekers back. He'll pay Iran. He'll pay the Ayatollah Khomeini of Iran. He'll pay the fucking Taliban with British money. This isn't money coming out of his fucking pocket. This isn't money coming out of this rich motherfucker's pocket. This is our money. What a shit. What a monumental shit. What a piece of shit. What a gobshite. What an absolute gobshite. There you go. That's, ladies and gentlemen, Nigel Farage, the scourge of the working classes. He goes on the Boxing Day hunt wearing a posh jacket and going a lot. Anyway, Hodgkinson's an exception where your immunity tries to attack you as it develops around your lymph glands, says Fat Spicer. Brett Wall and Crafty Wank run to the ECHR to get out of diversity training. KCC complaining about migrant restrictions too strict. Hypocrisy Party. Pygmalion, smoking and drinking together multiplies your chance of cancer by 5 times. Jesus Christ. And Farsight says, yep, and even so, the immune system sometimes manages to kill cancers. It's very difficult depending on luck because of how small the differences are between our own cells and cancer cells. They just can't spot them. They're like ninjas, like little bastard ninjas inside us. But they reckon 50% of us will either have cancer or die of cancer in our lifetimes. So it's a 50-50 chance. Flip a coin. But technology is coming on. Medical science is coming on. We are getting cures for cancer, but then someone like Trump comes along and takes all the money away from cancer research, or Brexit comes along and fucks cancer research in this country because we have all our best scientists leave, or there's just no funding for them from the European Union, and so they go somewhere else. I have to start again. In America, because of their mad laws about how you can treat an abortion, how you can treat an embryo, not even like an embryo that's actually been fertilized by someone having sex. This is embryos that are like literally put together in the lab, just for testing, are seen as that can't be funded in any way by federal funding, but also it's the equipment that they use. So they have to have a whole separate bunch of equipment if they're going to do tests on stem cells, because stem cells are not allowed by federal law in America to be tested on in any way, shape or form using federal funds. So all of the equipment, they have to duplicate all the equipment that they use in these laboratories because they have to use the stuff that they can use stem cell research for and the stuff they can't. In America, fucking madness. Research takes long enough, it costs enough to start with, and you're just duplicating a bunch of stuff that they don't need to have two versions of. But there you go, little label on it saying do not use for stem cells. Just think some people now in this chat were born after the Young Ones series and then never seen it. You're in for a treat. Says Mark, yeah, the Young Ones is pretty fucking awesome. Ernie says, it would be really bad to get into bed with such evil. I don't know if Iran and the Taliban can face themselves afterwards. That's some Ernie saying, yeah, Farage is a very, very evil man. Farsight says, unlikely the whole world would be bad enough if large part of it does. And Mark says, the Trump Muppet satire, I can't tell if it's a documentary. Lol. Yeah, indeed. And Nick says, the next election is tediously predictable. Labour scrambling around in a futile effort to out Farage. Yep. Mark says, sad to see Rick Mail died from a heart attack. Oh my, Rick Mail's dead. What? No, he's not. He is. He died a long time ago. 2014, wasn't it? Jeez, 11 years ago. 11 years ago. But yeah, I thought it was complications after he had his quad bike accident when he was he was really fucked up by that. I think he was in a coma for quite a while. He was never quite the same. He's never quite the same after that accident. But I saw an interview with Aid Edmondson last year, who appears in the new Alien Earth series, by the way. Blink and you'll miss it, but he's in it. He plays a very serious role in this TV show. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Eddie from Bob. It's Vivian from The Young Ones. But Aid Edmondson was talking about his relationship with Rick, and just he's close to tears just talking about how they just used to sit and laugh and just make each other laugh. And it just seems like it's just so sad. It's just so sad that we just don't have Rick Mail anymore. When he was, fucking brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. Graham, there's your thumbnail. Where's my thumbnail? What did I say? Thumbnail. Oh, yeah, I get you from the newspaper headline. Yeah, maybe I should. I need to make me thumbnails, but I've got stuff to do today, so I don't know if we're going to have time to make me thumbnails for the last week or so. Not been making me thumbnails. I normally make them before the show and do all the blurb and everything. Not been having time to do that, so we'll try that today. Hey, listen, I'm sorry about this. I'm very sorry. It's not my fault. But I'm not going to be able to do the rabbit hole this evening with Rachel. I'm so sorry about this. This is my fault, not Rachel's at all. She's done nothing wrong. I was planning to go to the cinema tonight, and because my partner is deaf, we are very restricted on what we're allowed to go and see, and what times we're allowed to see. And the movie that we want to see is on here in Durham tonight, this evening. But here you go. It's the deaf screening, right? So it's got subtitles. But for some reason, this is a Lux cinema, an Odeon Lux we have here. They put the deaf screening, the screening for deaf people, in the iSense screening room, right? Now, iSense means that it's got these mad fucking Bluetooth 5G THX certified speakers everywhere, right? However the fuck it works, it's got like this unique sound experience for the deaf screening, for the screening for the people who are hard of hearing. They're putting them in this room that is like it's a kind of sound system where if you go and watch a Christopher Nolan film such as Interstellar or Oppenheimer, it'll shake the shit out your ass with the low bass, like literally shaking your seat. But if you're deaf, you won't be able to hear that. Well, I mean, you might be able to hear certain noises, which might be very painful for you at certain frequencies, because deafness isn't always just a turning down of the volume. Sometimes you can hear certain frequencies normally, but other frequencies you can't hear at all. So just because there is, just because you're deaf doesn't necessarily mean you can't hear anything at all. And because it's in the iSense theatre or the iSense screening room, instead of it costing about £7 each for a ticket, this is with a discount, it costs £27 for 2 tickets at the iSense here in Durham at the Odeon Lux for a feature that makes no fucking difference to half the people in the audience, because they're going to this screening because it has captions. And yet you have to pay a premium to go because it has a feature that is useless. So unfortunately, we're going to have to drive to the Metro Centre in Gateshead in order to go to the cinema, where it's only going to cost like us £12 altogether, £14, right? Because that's going to be cheaper than going to the fucking cinema here in Durham for the deaf screening, which we have to pay extra for. We have to pay a premium for because it's got extra special sound for the deaf screening. Can you see why diversity training is important? Can you see why it might be important to sit down people who work for a particular company and explain to them the different challenges people face depending on their backgrounds, depending on their disability? Can you see that? Anyway, as a direct result of us having to go to Gateshead, I can't do the show because otherwise we'll be going to 2 later screening, and we can't go to a screening that late. So I can't do the rabbit hole tonight with Rachel. So I'm very sorry, and I'm very pissed off. And I know that some of you are going to be thinking, "Oh, you don't have to go to the cinema, Graham." But look, I'm bloody minded enough to think, actually, no, fuck it. I want to go to the bloody cinema, and just because my partner is deaf doesn't mean that we should be excluded from this experience that I enjoy, this thing that I enjoy doing, but that the cinema companies don't want to allocate subtitle screenings for. And when they do, in places like Durham, they go, right, it's a subtitle screening, so because disabled people are going to be coming to this screening, we're going to double the price of the tickets. We're going to double the price of the tickets. I mean, fuck. Ivan, thank you very much for the £20 super chat. That's very, very kind of you. I think that's going to be our last super chat of the day because I'm planning to wrap up at 11 o'clock. Is there any way of stopping distressing adverts about Gaza on YouTube? I know it's absolutely horrendous and horrific, but people's mental health is at risk when these adverts are appearing without warning. Yes, Ivan, if you go onto when the advert comes up, pause it, press pause, and in the left of the screen, usually there should be a thing that says add choices, and it should have like an information eye, like an eye in a circle. Hit on that, and you can block that commercial from appearing again on your feed. I appreciate why you need to do that. I did that because I got an advert from the Israeli Defense Force saying that all this stuff about there being a famine in Gaza was nonsense. And if it wasn't nonsense, it was the UN that did it, not Israel. Nothing to do with Israel, mate. And this was an advert paid for by the Israeli government. Unbelievable. Anyway, I'm going to leave it now. Definitely click on the add choices, I think it is. There's usually a little circle with 9 in it, and that'll take you to another page, and it'll say stop seeing this ad, and you can actually report it if you want. I wouldn't necessarily report that particular ad, but if it was the Israeli government justifying genocide, yeah, I'll report it. I've complained about the Israel propaganda, says Brett Walker. It's just unbelievable, isn't it? Anyway, so I'm going to head off now. Thank you very much for watching. Like I say, we're not doing a show this evening. I'm sorry. Maybe might do one tomorrow. See if Rachel is about. To do a rabbit hole. But if not, I will definitely see you. Definitely see you tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, bright and early, for Morning Brew with me, Graham Hughes. And we've got some exciting stuff coming in the next few weeks on this channel. We're going to be trying out some new things, and me and Mike Dix are working together on a few little animated ideas that we have together. So look out for that. And also, just before I go, I should really advertise this. If you are in Liverpool, if you are in Liverpool in the end of September, if you're going there for the Labour Party conference, or if you just want to come and see me and Phil talk, and you're in the Northwest somewhere, Phil and I are doing a talk in real life at the Ship and Mitre pub on the 29th of September, Monday the 29th of September. We've got the upstairs, it's got its own bar, and the tickets are free, although you can make a slight contribution if you feel that would be a cool thing to do. We're going to be talking about Labour's comms, how they're broken, and what we can do to fix them. So there's the link. I've just put it into the chat window there. Just click on that, and we will see you there. But before then, I hope to see you figuratively, because obviously you're going to be writing stuff tomorrow. Until then, I'll say thank you so much for the super chats, especially for the amazing super chats that we've had in today. From Ivan, and also from Miss Paula Thomas. We've had loads from Miss Paula Thomas, and we've also had some coming in from Wheels Darren. We've had Alice Sturm throwing in, David Smith. We've had Noob Dark and George Only, and we've had Talk Madia. But mostly, I want to just say a huge thank you. You are awesome. To Plumduff for the £50 mega chat. Thank you so much for that, Plumduff. That means a lot to me, and it's quite required at the moment, so thank you very much. I will put it to good use. I will put that to very good use. I will not spend it all on women, cheap women, and expensive crack. I promise not to. Only expensive women and cheap crack. That's what I will spend it. No, I'm joking. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. with another Morning Brew. And until then, thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.